Let me paint you a picture of corporate madness. It's 2004, and somewhere in Auburn Hills, Michigan, a group of engineers at Dodge looked at the most dangerous sports car in America, the Viper, and thought, you know what this engine needs? A 2-ton pickup truck wrapped around it. 500 horsepower. 500. In a vehicle designed to haul lumber and look tough at Home Depot. This isn't engineering. This is a cry for help. And somehow, impossibly, brilliantly, they got away with it. The Dodge RAM SRT-10 wasn't just a fast truck. It was a philosophical statement. A middle finger to common sense wrapped in chrome and testosterone. While Toyota was perfecting fuel efficiency and Honda was winning reliability awards, Dodge asked the only question that mattered. What if we made a pickup that could outrun a Porsche? This rolling act of vehicular aggression came from PVO, Performance Vehicle Operations, the same lunatics who gave us the Viper and the Plymouth Prowler. These weren't accountants playing with spreadsheets. These were engineers who apparently had access to the company credit card and absolutely zero adult supervision. The concept was beautifully stupid. Take essentially the same 8.3-liter V10 from the Viper SRT-10 Roadster, all 500 horsepower and 525 pound-feet of torque, and drop it into a full-size Ram pickup. Same block, same heads, same displacement, but with intake, exhaust, and electronics adapted only where absolutely necessary to survive truck duty. This wasn't a truck-tuned compromise. This was the real deal with minor adjustments. On November 11, 2003, the first Ram SRT-10 rolled off the assembly line in Saltillo, Mexico, and the world of performance trucks would never be the same. Over the next 3 years, Dodge would build approximately 10,000 of these mechanical contradictions, enough to terrify Corvette owners at every stoplight in America. The 2004 launch model was the purist's choice. Regular cab only, 2 doors, 6-speed manual, rear-wheel drive, no airbags for your ego when you inevitably wrapped it around a telephone pole. This was Dodge saying, "We trust you," which, looking at the statistics, was incredibly optimistic. Let's talk about this engine, because it deserves poetry. 8.3 liters, that's 505 cubic inches of displacement. A 90-degree V10 with aluminum block, iron cylinder liners, and aluminum heads. 20 valves total, 2 per cylinder, with hydraulic roller lifters, sequential multi-port fuel injection, and a compression ratio of 9.6 to 1 that demanded premium fuel like a trust fund kid demands attention. Here's where it gets insane. Dodge claimed 90% of that 525 pound-feet of torque was available from just 1,500 RPM all the way to 5,600. That's not a power band. That's a power plateau. You could be cruising at idle speeds and still have enough twist to rearrange the continental shelf. 500 horsepower at 5,600 RPM, 525 pound-feet at 4,200. For context, the Ford Mustang GT that year made 260 horsepower. The Nissan 350Z made 287. This pickup, this truck, had nearly double the power of dedicated sports cars. Let that sink in. But Dodge wasn't satisfied with just the engine. They wanted the full experience. So they bolted up a Tremec T56 6-speed manual transmission with a Hurst shifter mechanism. And on top of that shifter, a genuine Viper shift knob. You're rowing gears in a pickup truck using the same equipment that came in an $80,000 supercar. The gear ratios tell the story. First gear at 2.29, sixth gear at 0.50, and a final drive ratio of 4.56. This thing was geared for one purpose and one purpose only, making everything around you feel inadequate. There was even a skip-shift feature that tried to force you from first to fourth, presumably Dodge's lawyers begging you to slow down. The chassis was heavily modified Ram 1500, but modified doesn't capture the violence of the transformation. Bilstein monotube shock absorbers all around, lowered ride height, stiffer springs, independent short-long arm suspension up front, and a solid axle with leaf springs in the rear. And here's the engineering detail that separates the amateurs from the professionals. A fifth shock absorber mounted horizontally on the rear axle, specifically to prevent wheel hop during hard acceleration. Think about that for a second. Dodge knew that people would launch this truck so hard that the rear axle would literally bounce uncontrollably. So instead of reducing power or adding traction control, they engineered around the problem. The axle wants to hop? Fine, we'll hold it down with more hardware. This is the most American solution to a problem I've ever heard. If you're enjoying watching Detroit's finest engineers lose their minds, that subscribe button is right there. We've got more stories of automotive insanity coming, including what happens when you actually try to use this thing as a truck. Spoiler alert, it doesn't go well. Stopping this monster required serious hardware. 15-inch front rotors. That's 380 millimeters of brake disc. For 2005 and 2006 models, Dodge upgraded to TRW 4-piston fixed calipers up front, a serious step up from the 2-piston sliding calipers of 2004. The cooling system featured NASCAR-inspired brake ducts because, and I cannot stress this enough, this pickup truck needed race car braking technology. The aerodynamics presented a unique challenge, and by unique, I mean the coefficient of drag of a small building. The functional hood extractor pulled heat from that massive V10. And that rear spoiler? Not decorative. It generated actual downforce to keep the back end planted when you inevitably discovered what 150 miles per hour felt like in a vehicle designed for hauling mulch. Let that marinate for a moment. A pickup truck with a functional rear spoiler for high-speed stability. We truly were living in a golden age. But Dodge wasn't content with just building the thing. They wanted proof. On February 2, 2004, they brought a bone-stock Ram SRT-10, straight from the Saltillo assembly line with 0 modifications, to the Chelsea Proving Grounds in Michigan. The mission? Set a Guinness World Record. Behind the wheel sat Brendan Gaughan, NASCAR Nextel Cup driver, pilot of the number 77 Kodak Dodge. Watching from the sidelines was Hein LaRue, an official Guinness World Records adjudicator, who had flown all the way from London specifically to witness this absurdity. The method: 2 1-kilometer runs in opposite directions, averaged together, completed within 1 hour. The result? 154.587 miles per hour. That's 248.784 kilometers per hour. In a pickup truck. The previous record, held by the Ford F-150 SVT Lightning, was 147.54. Dodge hadn't just broken the record, they had embarrassed it by 7 miles per hour. The Ram SRT-10 became, officially, with paperwork and everything, the fastest production pickup truck in the world. And it would hold that title until 2006 when the HSV Maloo claimed to beat it. Though many enthusiasts argue the Maloo is technically a ute, not a pickup. Either way, for those glorious years, this Dodge was king. 0 to 60, 4.9 seconds in the regular cab manual. The quarter mile, 13.6 seconds at 106 miles per hour. For comparison, the Nissan 350Z of the same era did 0 to 60 in about 5.7 seconds. The Porsche Boxster took nearly 6. This truck was faster than both. Speaking of competition, let's pour one out for the Ford F-150 SVT Lightning. Ford's supercharged 5.4-liter V8 made 380 horsepower. Respectable. But against the Ram's 500, the Lightning did 0 to 60 in 5.2 seconds, 0.3 slower, quarter mile in 13.8 at 104, 0.2 and 2 miles per hour behind. Dodge had won the truck war before Ford even knew there was a battle. Now, here's where the comedy begins. This was, theoretically, a pickup truck. You know, for work, hauling things, towing things, and yet, Dodge officially listed towing as, and I quote, not recommended for the manual transmission models, 500 horsepower, and you couldn't even pull a jet ski. The clutch simply wasn't rated for trailer work. The fuel economy was equally spectacular, in the worst possible way. The EPA rated the regular cab at 9 miles per gallon in the city. 9. With the 26-gallon tank, that's 98 liters. You could theoretically drive about 230 miles before needing to refinance your home at the gas station. But here's what surprises people. The interior wasn't actually stripped-out work truck garbage. Leather and suede seating, an Infinity audio system, Viper-style gauges, brushed aluminum accents. This was a genuine premium cabin that happened to be attached to an engine that got worse fuel economy than some commercial aircraft. The base price? Around $45,000 for the 2004 regular cab, climbing to about $48,500 by 2006. The quad cab automatic, introduced in 2005, pushed past $52,000. For context, a new Viper SRT-10 Roadster cost around $80,000. You were getting the same engine for almost half the price, with a bed for hauling your questionable life choices. Dodge even created special editions for the truly committed. The VCA edition, 52 units in electric blue with white stripes for the Viper Club of America. Yellow Fever, 497 trucks in solar yellow with a fang stripe on the hood. The commemorative edition, 201 units in bright white with blue stripes, and the Night Runner, roughly 500 units murdered out in brilliant black. 2005 brought the Quad Cab, 4 doors and 4-speed automatic for buyers who wanted the madness but didn't want to row their own gears. 0 to 60 stretched to 5.3 seconds, still faster than most sports cars. Top speed dropped to 147 miles per hour, which, let's be honest, is still completely unnecessary in a family-sized pickup. I'll give you a moment to appreciate that sentence. Only 147 miles per hour, in a truck with 4 doors. We were so blessed and we didn't even know it. Production ended on June 30th, 2006, and the Ram SRT-10 passed into legend. Approximately 10,000 units built across 3 model years, 5,500 regular cabs, and 4,600 quad cabs. Not rare enough to be unobtainable, but limited enough to be special. Today, clean examples trade between $25,000 and $72,000 depending on mileage and configuration. Low-mile regular cab manuals, the purist's choice, have sold for over $60,000 on Bring a Trailer. The truck that cost $45,000 new is now appreciating. Who says trucks can't be investments? The Ram SRT-10 proved something important, that performance and practicality don't have to make sense. That sometimes the right answer to "should we" is just "why not?" This was a truck that existed purely because a group of engineers had a dream, and apparently blackmail material on someone in accounting. And here's the beautiful irony. The Ram SRT-10 was the Hellcat before the Hellcat existed. It was Dodge proving that if something had wheels, they could make it terrifyingly fast. The philosophy that would later birth the 700-horsepower Challenger Hellcat started here, in a pickup truck that had no business being this quick. The Ram SRT-10 was never about practicality. It was about possibility. About taking the heart of a supercar and proving it could beat in the chest of a working vehicle. It was absurd and impractical and gloriously, unapologetically American. And we may never see anything like it again. Because in today's world of efficiency ratings and emission standards, this level of beautiful stupidity simply isn't allowed anymore. So here's my question for you. Would you daily drive 500 horsepower and 9 miles per gallon? Would you trade practicality for the ability to gap a Porsche at every stoplight? The comments are waiting, and I genuinely want to know. If you're new here, we do this every week, celebrating the cars that made absolutely no sense but captured our hearts anyway. Hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. This is Car Chronicles, where pickups try to kill you, and we love every second of it.